We light this chalice to remember a truth consecrated through the ages by the service and sacrifice of individuals and communities. There abides a unity and freedom of the Spirit expressed through a love for all souls. Good morning and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. Good morning. My name is John Benarowitz. I'm a member of the Building and Grounds Committee and the Fundraising Committee. Our minister, Reverend Leonetta, is out of the pulpit today, and today's guest speaker is Dr. Brent Smith. I'll give you a little more information on Dr. Smith as we come to his portion of the service. I'd like to extend a special thanks and a special welcome to any visitors today. Please join us in the lower level after the service for coffee hour. And there also will be some information if you're interested in membership. There's a welcome table in the lower level that and somebody there from the membership committee will be stationed there if you want to ask questions. Also, during the service, we have supervised nursery in the lower level for toddlers and babies, if you're interested, and religious education classes for children and youth. If you have any questions, you can see our religious coordinator, Natalie Dargitz. Did I get the pronunciation right even? So, okay. If you need to leave the service for any reason, there are locations in the building where there's a simulcast being broadcast of the service, so an usher can direct you to those locations as well. Our UU principles begin with our pledge to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people. As we are a welcoming congregation, we welcome into our community people of all races, sexual orientations, belief systems, and ages, including any young ones who are fidgety and create youthful noises. These little humans represent our future, and we welcome them fully in our meeting house. There are a couple of announcements today. Barb will have an announcement shortly, and another announcement. Oh, and Tom. Mine will follow on. And I have one of my own, too, so. Save that for the end.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Adis on behalf of the fundraising committee. Every year we hold a service auction, and most of you have been. It's a great party. It's a great way to meet other members of the church. And also, we get to go to new parties and maybe meet new people, and it's just a really fun event. The UUA says we shouldn't do it as a sole funder for our church, and we don't. That's why I stress it was a great party. We had over 70 people showed up. We ate some great food by Linda Brown. And I want to thank everyone who donated a party or a service or a silent auction item. Without you guys, we couldn't do this. So now you're all curious, well, what did we make? Personally, my expectations were around 13 or 14,000 based on what we've done before. You guys knocked it out of the park. Let me tell you, $21,000 gross. So thank you again to everybody that came, everybody that donated, and everybody that helped. You guys are just amazing. Thank you.
And there are a few items that didn't sell at the silent auction. So if you didn't get a chance to come last night, or if you still have some extra money that you want to spend, the items are downstairs on the table in front of the large bulletin board near the kids' table. There's a couple signed Red Wings autographed photos of some Red Wing players. There's a couple poetry books, some jewelry, some theater tickets, so still some really good stuff. So take a look, and it's a little reduced pricing.
I'm George Rourke, representing the social events team. And when you go down for coffee this morning, look for this on the tables. It'll give you a summary of some of the upcoming events here at church in November. And thanks to Hope Sorensen for putting this together. Appreciate that. Particularly, I want to point out, next Saturday, we're going to have a free concert, The Undecideds. It's an acoustic band, and our own Peg Campbell is one of the musicians. It'll start at 7 o'clock. Again, it's free. There'll be a reception from 7 to 7:30, then the music will start. And I think we're going to run till about 9 or 9:15, something like that. So please join us if you can.
Hi, Natalie Dargatz. I'm still not used to calling myself that either. RE coordinator. So a couple announcements as far as RE goes. As usual, we're always looking for volunteers. If you would like to volunteer to teach on Sunday mornings, you can email me, natalie@uufarmington.org, or you can follow the quick link that comes in the e-blast every week. Another announcement, we've had a great show out for people who would like to sign up to Teach OWL, which we're really excited about. That's going to be a great new program. It probably won't actually roll out until next year, but we're going to get everybody trained up this year. I think that's going to be really great for our congregation and our neighborhood. The next big project that's coming from RE is we are going to be making a quilt that we're going to send to an organization called Welcome Blankets. So all throughout the next 2 months, we're going to be planning the design of our quilt, and then the kickoff will be January 5th. So if you're a quilter, if you have a sewing machine, if you just want to hang out with us while we put it together, that's going to be our kickoff, is January 5th. And then I feel like there was one. Oh, yeah. So in RE class for this month, we're going to be, it's Native American Heritage Month. So we're going to be remembering or honoring the Native Americans that are now living in our country as refugees, essentially. And as part of that, it's not going to be down there at coffee hour today, but for the rest of the month, there will be a puzzle downstairs that you can grab one of our kids and work on the puzzle. But the puzzle is of our First Nations forefathers in front of Mount Rushmore. So Well, that'll be downstairs, and you can work on that with the kids and talk to them about what you know about Native American folklore, or how the Indian reservations came to be. So that's a little touchstone that you can connect with our kids in what we'll be studying in RE class this month.
Thanks, Natalie. And the final announcement is for much of the past year, on and off, you've heard about our SCRIP program, the Great Lakes SCRIP program. And as a brief background or refresher, that is the program where you can sign up and purchase gift cards, either e-gift cards on your phone, and what we're going to be doing here for the month of December, actually buying physical gift cards. When you buy the gift cards, some of the proceeds, a fraction of that comes back to the church. You get the full value of the gift card, but essentially some of the processing fees and a rebate comes to the church, so you can donate to the church by doing almost absolutely nothing, essentially. So an easy way to help us out through the SCRIP program. We'll be starting to sign up on November 17th. Yes, the 17th. I did the math of 14 days from now in my head real quick. November 17th, and actual delivery of the gift cards will start the week of December 8th. Again, checking with my colleague here. I got the dates right. Great. Thank you. Now, if you can stand and join as you are able in singing of hymn number 352 in your gray books, the hymn book, Find a Stillness. Our litany of gathering today is from a piece by Martin Luther King, Jr. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be now adjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that.
We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out the mountain of despair, a stone of hope.
come join me up front? All right, take a seat. Today, we're going to tell a story that each of us has our own version of this story. So maybe if we weave this story together, it will become something more whole. And you are welcome to join in as well. So this is a little book I made. This is our little church. Look at our little church. Mm-hmm. That's what we're sitting in that church right now. Okay, so this says, here's somebody already added. It says, and then they decided to be called Unitarian Universalists. And then nice people came to visit. So now I can say and then, and if somebody would like to add another and then.
They brought their children too.
And then they brought their children, and that's how you guys came to be here. And then what happened?
And then they might have like brought their family, like grandparents.
Grandparents brought their grandkids,
Yeah.
and then the families came here.
Mhm.
All right. And then what happened?
And then they sang songs.
And then they sang songs. And then what?
They drank coffee.
And they drank coffee
And learned.
and learned
And made new friends.
and made new friends.
And did nice things for people in their community who needed help.
Yes.
That one's so
Bottle
hard.
caps.
Yes.
That's so
And they collected bottle caps and made a bench.
Wait, are we going back through time?
Yeah, we can go back through time. Because who knows how long this church has been here?
Since the 80s, I think.
I think longer than that.
1880s.
1880s. Do you know how long that is?
I thought it was the 80s because we were 70s.
Because we were celebrating the 80s last night.
Yeah.
So, like, way before I was born.
And way before you were born.
Yeah, I was born in 2011.
You must have been a child. You must have been a child.
No, it was even before I was born. This church is even older than me. Isn't that amazing?
It's a
So that's over 100 years. Over 100 years, people have been coming to this church and drinking coffee and talking and learning together. Isn't that amazing?
and also celebrating other people's beliefs.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then they came to celebrate not only their own beliefs, but everyone's beliefs, right? That's a pretty powerful thing. It's a pretty amazing thing that happens here every Sunday. It seems small, but it's a pretty amazing thing. So I thought in honor of this here, and that we get to come here every Sunday, and we get to make new friends and be together. It's a small little thing that can make a really huge difference. Because then we can do things together, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And plus, since it's like 100 years old or older,
Mm-hmm.
it might have carried more people than right now.
Yeah, that's
And
probably true.
Before I came to this church, I didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know each other, right?
That's right.
This is how we got to know each other.
By sharing thoughts, sharing thinkings, beliefs, and languages.
Amen to that. And with that, we are going to go downstairs and learn some more and talk some more. And you're welcome to play our songs.
Sing us out. 212 on your book.
Yeah, for children.
And now, anybody who might want to share a joy or concern, please come forward and light a candle.
I'm Bud, and
that it's an opportunity for non-UU members to come into the church. So we in the band are inviting all of our friends, and we hope that there will be a lot of UU members who also come. And the reason I'm excited about that is my introduction to this church was when my neighbor, Barb Lucas, had an art exhibit for her mother here. Her mother was dying of cancer, and she always wanted to have an art exhibit. And so Barbara said, this is her last wish, and I'm going to do it for her. So she invited the neighbors to come, and I came and I thought, what a nice church that allows Barbara to have this art exhibit for her mother that means so much. And then at Halloween, Barb had a Halloween party and invited us, and we came, and there was beer and wine, and oh, the people were so much fun. And I thought, I really like this church. And Carol Ponish, who was then a member and a friend of ours, came to talk to us, and I said, well, what kind of church is this? And she said, well, you know, the best way to describe it is bring your own God. And I thought, sold. And after that, we became members. So I hope next Saturday night is a chance for new people to see the church and you all and be enamored with it. Hi, Dennis. Yeah.
Where are you going to play?
Downstairs. Yes, absolutely. Oh, okay, it's 7 o'clock. The doors open. We'll start playing at 7:30. We'll play about 7:30 to 8:15. We'll take a little break. There will be refreshments there, so you can have refreshments before, during, and after. And then we'll do another half-hour set and finish by around 9:15. Yes, ma'am. Was there a hand? Okay. All right, so I hope you can come next Saturday night.
And light one more candle here for all the unspoken joys and concerns. The generosity of our gifts of time and financial offerings sustains the work of this Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington that seeks answers everywhere, includes everyone, and lives with compassion. And before we get to the reading with Dr. Smith, I'd like to give you a little bit of background and introduce him. Dr. Brent Smith, our guest minister for today and guest speaker, has been a UU minister for over 27 years. He was actually in parish ministry with Universalist Unitarianism for 27 years in 3 different locations. He was in Milwaukee and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and lastly here, most recently, with the All Souls Church in Grand Rapids, where he continues and remains as minister emeritus there in Grand Rapids at the All Souls Church. Starting in 2010, Dr. Smith began teaching as a professor at Grand Valley State University, where he now resides, and he's a tenured professor there and coordinator of their religious studies group. And also importantly, that prior to pursuing his religious studies some 20-some plus years ago, he was actually coming from business. He worked in business at Oscar Mayer, where he sold bologna. And now, I'll hand it over. Our lucky to have guest speaker, Dr. Brent Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for that kind introduction and pointing out that, yes, I did sell bologna. I sold hot dogs and bologna. But thank you, John, and thank you to my colleague, Reverend Buglisi. I've known her for quite some time. I was president of the ministers group when this was the Heartland District. And was president of the ministers group over in Milwaukee in that area when that was the Central Midwest District, and have been a Unitarian Universalist minister for quite some time, and served our parishes for 27 years, as John pointed out. Have been at Grand Valley now almost 10 years. Also, thank you to Diana for the music this morning. Thank you to Natalie and for your efforts at religious education, and especially a thank you to you, the members, friends, and visitors here at Farmington Hills. This is the first time I've preached here. This is one of the few churches that I hadn't preached in before, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to be with you this morning. Our reading this morning is one of the, they're called appearance narratives. There's quite a few appearance narratives in the Christian tradition. There's only a couple in the Christian sacred text, the New Testament, but there's 22 other books that we're aware of that weren't included in the New Testament, and there are several appearance narratives in those books as well. Those were found in 1945. They're not the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're called the Nag Hammadi texts, and those were the texts that were in contention with the texts that we're familiar with, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These other 22 were in contention with those in the first 3 centuries of Christianity to be included in the Bible. So there's a number of these appearance narratives, and that's not only in Christianity but in other traditions as well. This is my favorite appearance narrative. It's from the Christian sacred text of Luke. It's Luke 24 for those keeping numbers at home. That's right, there we go. It's good to hear appearance narratives as we're heading into winter because it's easy to think as snow covers the ground that there's no life about. Now, the same day, 2 of them were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they talked and discussed these things with each other. And Jesus himself, having been crucified, dead, and buried, came up and walked along with them. But they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk alone?" And they told him of Jesus of Nazareth, the prophet, powerful in word and deed, that they had hoped he was the one, but that incomprehensibly he had been handed over to be sentenced to death and crucified. How women had gone to the tomb and found it empty. They told the stranger of the manner of their own emptiness and of being beleaguered. And as they approached the village to which they were going, Emmaus, the stranger continued on as if he were going farther. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, for it's nearly evening, the day is almost over. Sit, eat with us." And when he was at the dinner table with them, the stranger took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized Jesus, and he disappeared from their sight. Appearance and disappearance both, yeah. I don't know that it's a disappearance narrative, though. Thus ends the reading this morning. Let us unite in the spirit of prayer and personal meditation, offering these as words to consider. Thanks, O God, for this good life, and forgive us when we do not love it enough. I teach at Grand Valley State University. We have about 25,000 students. It's one of Michigan's public universities. In any given semester, our religious studies faculty will teach from 600 to 700 students will fill our classes. So we've got a pretty good size group. And I had a student one time tell me about working at a hockey camp, assisting a veteran hockey coach with training young players. The coach started the camp with everyone spread out on the ice, these young girls and boys, all with a different position on the ice, each with their hockey stick and a puck. And the coach stood in front of the net with goalie gear on. He was a wide body like me. And he knew what they could and couldn't see when he stood in front of the net. And he asked if anyone saw an opening where they could fire the puck past him for a score. And each said no. Now, according to our spiritual tradition, truth does not require some kind of suspension of thinking. And it can be known by any person in any location. But after each young player from their location declared the truth, there was no way to score, he had them change locations and bend down on their knees and press their cheek against the cold, cold ice and look at the net from behind the puck. And then they saw what had previously been unseen and invisible, a true path for the puck to pass into the net. And the coach said, becoming good at hockey is learning to skate upright while shooting from a puck's point of view. You have to imagine something more than what you can see from your location. You have to know something more than you can see. As all aspects of the production of knowledge, what we know, are situated, the claim that some knowledge is objective is claiming that located nowhere, you can claim to be everywhere. Students in my classes often mistake that we are studying religions objectively or scientifically. We aren't. No one can study religion from nowhere. All of us are situated. We study religion situated in the academic field of religious studies. And unlike studying religion at Hillsdale College or the University of Detroit Mercy, our location is not theology, where religious insiders consider all positions, their own and others, from inside their particular religious tradition. We're doing theology right now, from inside a particular tradition. But here's what religious studies brings that is different from your inside and every other religious tradition's inside. Even if we added all the particular locations in this room and all the sanctuaries in all the Unitarian Universalist churches and fellowships, and added in all the other churches, added in synagogues, added in temples, and living rooms of everyone everywhere, even all those particularities added together, would not equal a world that exists. Because the universe is made up of things that exist even though no one encounters them. Everywhere is not grasped by adding up all the particular somewheres. Nobody can play hockey by skating with their face against the ice, charting all of the true paths that appear during the course of a game. Go down and buy those posters with those people's names on them. It's truly remarkable that a puck ever makes it into the net. You have to imagine something more than what you can see from your location right now. I'm located in the field of religious studies, my field. We're not looking for objective truth, but are claiming that any truths declared are declared from some location. Neither are we taking the subjective look at other locations from a particular theological view, as a Christian might do searching for the Buddhist's Bible. Hint, there isn't one. Because there's a different relationship to texts. And you can't know Hinduism by listing what Hindus believe, although you can list that. Ask my colleague down the hall, Abhi Ghosh, and he'll tell you to understand a Hindu's position. It's not his belief, it's a way of life. I'm bringing the location of religious studies into this theological location right now to share with you what shots on goal that I see from a location different than yours. Two domains that at this time and place are overlapping. I'm asking you to consider your theological thinking by just for a moment adopting the view of religious studies. Examine all the characteristics that make up your location. How your spiritual location is understood by others, other insiders like you. Branch out to your age, to your gender, to your race, to your social and economic standing. Examine your location. What your family dynamics were, are. So much goes into our location. And what we've held as true, emanating from that location, and why. And now what we hold as true, and why. From our current location, changes every day. If nothing else, you get a year older. You see, even words and concepts have a location. Religion is a word of various historical European origins, but as a concept, that is, as containing what we think it does when we say religion. Made up of beliefs pertaining to God's existence, housed in communities and institutions, separated from the state. That concept originated in white, European, male, universities of the 1500s. Religion appears in none of the languages used to compose any of the sacred texts of any of what we call world religions. So if you ask, what was Jesus' religion, or Buddha's religion, or Muhammad's religion, or Moses's? None. The concept hadn't been invented yet. Knowing where you are located out there is knowing your personal identity. Knowing where you are located in here is knowing your spiritual identity, your religious identity. And while they overlap, they're not the same. The aim of using knowledge out there involves your subjective, personal me navigating a world of objects and others. While the location in here is about a different, a new kind of identity, your spiritual identity. How you are alike and connected to others in this particular in here, in other in heres around the world, and added to all the other in heres claimed as part of an in here tradition. In your case, called by some the free church tradition. In here involves your connection with others in here and the world out there. And how you learn about your spiritual identity involves others, living and dead. The world and its meaning and purpose and aim. How to live better, how to live more whole, true, good lives. The identity in here as your true identity to be lived in out there. And in religious studies, we study the function of activity of insiders in their particular inside. And we do this not to determine the final truth at all. Our interest is not in truth. We'll let the philosophers and theologians argue over that. Our interest is activity. Near the beginning of your ritualized activity, a ritualized activity functions differently than routine or non-ritualized activity. You lit your chalice, performing that simultaneously with other activities, speaking. You lit other candles in the first part of your activity together, and I've been well briefed by your fellow community members and performed these tasks similarly for 27 years as a UU parish minister. In religious studies, this act marks off time and place as not ordinary but sacred. Because you can light a candle at home this evening at the dinner table, or you can turn this particular candle on at any other time during the week, and it won't be the same. The function here and now is different than those. This integrates this time and this place as special, not ordinary. And you light something. You light something. You don't eat something, which you could. You don't shout something, which you could. You don't have a group process down the center aisle raising a book in the air, which you could. You light fire, which as humans know, brings heat, makes food edible, cold bearable, while also bearing a particular and horrifying kind of destruction. We would be living that were this California. And light makes seeing possible. And the ancient Greek philosophers saw illumination as when thinking gains an extraordinary stimulation or spark needed for something true to appear and for us to see it. Light was the first product of creation in the ancient Hebrew story in Genesis of the whole world being created. And so when you light this light, you return to the time of the beginnings of all things. An illumination far beyond the out there location. Perhaps a new point of view, a new identity will appear unto you. The challenge today involves recognizing not the difference out there between truth and falsehood, fake and real news, a location of profound trauma and dislocation and disorientation and distress that everyone brings in here. The challenge is to change from that location out there to a location in here. And thereby, by changing locations, change identity. And what you see from who you are spiritually. And like those who are just learning to play hockey, bend down on your knees. Press your cheeks to the cold ice. And take a look at what you can now see. Those who disregard location won't understand deeper. And that is good news for all to behold is true, or that they know the truth and no one is ever revived after death. Religious fake news. Both are truths out there, which, whether inside of religion or not, ignore location. The followers of Jesus were located deep within a profound grief that was traumatizing, disorienting, dislocating, distressing. They longed to be safe and free, but they were neither. And they were invisible. But Jesus had seen them. He saw them, recognized them, called them children of God. And now without him, where were they? The best use of in here is not to bring out there in here to confirm knowledge we claim out there already to possess. In here is not about knowledge and truth, but imagination and hope. Imagine the puck's true path in here to take your shots out there. Like the beleaguered on the road to Emmaus, your forebearers struggled in the ways of their times to love and know themselves loved in return. They too sat where you sit, in trauma, beleaguered, as those that sat at a table long ago offering a stranger bread. And when that bread freely offered to all souls was broken, in the face of that stranger appeared those whom they loved. In the voice of that stranger, they heard him who they loved. And in the fragrance of bread, they sensed him who they loved. And like the beleaguered in times past, see what you cannot see. And the burden from your trauma will be lifted. And you will be healed. So be it. Shalom. Shalem. Namaste. Amen.
Our final hymn is number 34. Please rise as you are able.
Now seeing there is naught to fear, and bearing witness to what can never die, let us go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Search all things and hold fast to that which is good. Render unto no one evil for evil. My goodness, that will distinguish you from all others at this time. Render unto no